Thank you, Sheriff. Our invocation and pledge this time around will be led by our District 2 Commissioners. Mr. Gully, could you please lead our invocation?
Take care of this every member here, the families here, Lord. Lord, most of all, pray, Lord, that Lord, these may not know the part of sin, Lord God, but Lord, have a way here, not make knowledge of that, Lord God, that maybe it's, Lord, we know that that's son ain't with it. Lord God, down that cross, we might each everyone have life everlasting. Lord, I'm thankful and appreciate over the opportunity to give me this. Lord, I ask you to continue to watch over us, bless Lord, each and every one of you. Be with those that are here, Lord. This is menial in a lot of ways, Lord. We look along tonight, Lord, we ask that you be with us, watch over us, and help each and every one make the right decisions they come along the way. We're thankful, Lord, for the opportunity. Lord God, reach to thee one more time. We ask you to help us, Lord, today, that we do that which you have us to take each and every one today. When it's time of day, we're to be here, Lord. We ask you no one to see each and every one. Amen.
Mr. Burke, you need our vote.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody, to our June Commission meeting. As a quick reminder, please silence all your cell phones and electronic devices, please. And also, for those that are watching the videos, the commission items, everything is found on the county website, which is trousdalecountytn.gov. That's all of the minutes and the videos are on there. Thank you. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll call?
Beverly Atwood, Tommy Belcher, Linda Bruce, Shane Burton, Alan Carmen, Brian Crook, Will Dennis, Jerry Ford, Chris Gregory, Jeff Gregory, Bubba Gregory, Landon Gully, Judy Kerr, David Nallner,
Here.
Leslie Overman, Mark Presley,
Here.
Amber Russell, Lonnie Taylor,
Here.
David Thomas, Steve Whitaker. 17 present, 3 absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. You guys have a copy of the minutes from the May meeting. If there'll be no changes, I'd entertain a motion to approve. And a motion from Jerry. Do I have a second? Tommy Belcher's my second. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carried. Are there any announcements coming from the commissioners this evening that needs to be made? All righty. At this time, item 11B .1, resolution 2026-08842, which is the Tennessee Downtown Program Support. This is added. This was added at work session. You did get a copy of the handout then. If there'll be no changes at this time, I'd entertain a motion to set the agenda. Yes, Chris.
Hopefully it's not necessary, but depending on how the budget vote comes out, do we need to have I guess, if we're not able to proceed to third reading tonight for any reason, should we have something to include some kind of a continuing resolution or anything for budget since the fiscal year starts July 1st?
I believe so, but I think we'd probably have to take that up after we vote on that, would we not? Yeah, we can add a spot for a possibility, absolutely.
Okay. All right, then I'll move to approve the agenda with adding for the possibility of that in there and adding the downtown resolution.
Thank you. Here we go. Have a second. Mark. All right. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the agenda is set. Citizens' response to agenda items. If you wish to speak to the commission this evening, there's a sign-in sheet over there at the podium. You can please sign in and we'll call you to come up and speak at the appropriate time. At this time, I'd like to ask for the county mayor for his mayor's report.
Sure, thank you. I guess the first item that I need to address is the piece of property next to the fire hall that we're looking at to move the jail. There was some kind of word out there that Enbridge was not going to be available to, or not going to have field available, but that's not true. I met with them today out on the Enbridge property, and that's an ongoing discussion between their representatives and Cliff Salee, and they're assuring me we'll have the field to do that. Secondly, the water school project's moving along as expected. We did receive a 60-day extension from the state, and the bids will be let on that project probably within the next 2 weeks. So we're on track there. The multimodal sidewalk project, which would extend from the depot to McMurray, is still under consideration by TDOT. They're looking for some additional money to meet the requirements there, but that's still moving forward. That's what I have this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for the mayor? None? Thank you. Moving on. Committee reports, law enforcement met on June 3rd. Amber, can you please speak to that for us?
So during our work session, I went ahead and updated most people on the popular topic of the tower. There's also discussion tonight about a different lease option that the state wants to include on the same tower that we were looking at possibly improving our law enforcement communications with. So there'll be more discussion about that a little bit later on. There wasn't really any other discussion at law enforcement other than that.
Thank you. And then first response, first of all, does anybody have any questions for Amber? No? Okay, moving on. First response services also met on the 3rd. Amber, can you speak to that, please?
Sure. Okay, so there's a little bit of a difference when we're doing meetings now, and I wanted to do a committee more than just having the heads of the departments come and tell us about their reports. So this time we looked through all of their reports that they gave us as a committee and had a pretty good discussion about any questions that we had that we wanted to talk about with each other. The ambulance remount was a subject that came out, and Beatty said he wanted to go ahead and wait 1 more year for that. There was discussion about PRN, paramedics or EMTs, and whether or not they were being utilized, and that could possibly help with overtime. And Beatty had said that when he can get somebody to work the PRN, then he definitely does. As far as the rescue squad goes, everything is up to par with them. They didn't have really anything extra to discuss with us. And for the fire department, there was a discussion about the radio programming issues that they have. I guess whoever had programmed them previously had a password that they weren't wanting to divulge. So they're having a lot of issues with their radios. And I don't know if Ken is here this evening to where he can give an update on whether or not they've been able to break that. But that was the end of our conversation with them.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for Amber? No? Okay. Moving on, budget and finance met on June 15. Chris, can you please speak to that for us, sir?
Yes, budget and finance met last Monday, went through the monthly financial statements from county trustees, cash balances, no issues there. Reviewed and approved with favorable recommendations all the budget amendments that are on tonight's agenda. Most of them are year-end adjustments, the typical ones that we see. And that was basically it.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for Chris? No? Okay, moving on. I do see that codes and zoning is going to meet on June 25. Is that correct, Mr. Thomas? Thank you. And just as a friendly reminder, if anybody needs to schedule any of these meetings in July, please let Ms. Thomas know as soon as possible, okay? Thank you. Yeah, Chris? I did skip over. I sure did. There was a glare. Bubba, can you speak about that? You guys met on the 16th.
Yes, we had a meeting on June the 16th. Cliff was not able to make it that night, so we more or less didn't take a lot of action on anything, but we discussed the walking track repair. And I had sort of spoke to Cliff, and he had talked to Mr. Scruggs, and not sure he was going to be able to do the walking track because we had done a proof for him to do it. But we'll discuss that more at our next meeting. If he's not going to do it, we're going to have to probably go back to the ones that we got bids from before and see if we can go from there. Then we'll discuss the 4th of July festivities. The band boosters is still handling this. It's a $25 booth fee. I think the Chamber of Commerce is handling the parade, and you can sign up on the Chamber Facebook page, and the parade will start at 5 p.m. on July the 4th. And the other thing we discussed was like we need to try to find some kind of field with a little extra lighting for the fall football. So I'm not sure they're going to be able to use the Little League fields and stuff this year or not, but we'll get in more discussion on that at our next meeting. And that was about all we did. Our next meeting, July the 16th, 6 o'clock.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for Bubba? Okay, now moving on. I have the sign-in sheet here, and it looks like I've got 4 signatures on here. So you guys will be called up at the appropriate time. So we're going to move on to active business appointments. This is on page 27 of your packets, and this is the Library Board and the Planning Commission. We have Kelsey Dickens for the Library Board as a reappointment for a 3-year term, and Alicia Wicks for the same, a 3-year term. We also have on the Planning Commission, we have Arthur Harper, which is a reappointment for a 4-year term. Yes, Chris? You have a second? Mr. Whitaker. This will be an electronic vote, so you'll please record your results on your device, please. Chris? I'm sorry. Yeah, Whitaker. He had the second. Sorry. Read the results from this is 17 yes, 0 no, and 3 absent. So this carries. Thank you very much. Resolutions, Resolution 2026-08-842. Yeah, this is the handout you received during the work session, which is the TNECD downtown program. This is supporting the participation in the Tennessee Downtowns program. A letter of intent is required to be submitted by July 1st. By supporting this resolution from the commission, the approval of this does not obligate the county to any financial commitments, and there is no cost associated with the application. Does anybody have any questions on this? Got a motion from in a second. Beverly. All right, this is also an electronic vote, so you'll please record your results on your devices. Results from this are 16 yes, 1 no, and 3 absent. So this also carries. Thank you very much. So now we move on to ordinances, public hearing. We're going to open the floor for the public hearing for these ordinances. Ordinance 344, 2026-06, wheel tax. Ordinance 347, 2026-09, fiscal year 27, general appropriations. Ordinance 348, 2026-10, which is 2026 general tax rate. Ordinance 349, 2026-11, fiscal year 27, urban services appropriations. And then finally, Ordinance 350, 2026-12, which is 2026 urban services tax rate. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on this? I do have, let's see. I do have somebody wishing to speak on the wheel tax. Looks like Carla, I can't really read. Acuna? Sorry, I couldn't read your handwriting. Yes, please.
I'm Carla Riley Atkins. I live on Scruggs Lane in District 2. And I am not an advocate of this wheel tax. I believe it is, personally, I have 7 vehicles for my farm and for, different things that they do, if that makes sense to anybody. And I'd be passing that on to my children and my grandchildren to take up this wheel tax, because I'd love to be here 40 years, but I kind of doubt it. So I'm just not an advocate. I'm not comfortable with how much it is and for how long it is, especially that we don't even know for sure where we're going to do this jail, how much this jail is going to cost us. There's a lot of variables out there that aren't known. Anyway, that's how I feel.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else? Do we have anybody else? Do we have anybody else? Motion to close the hearing. First from Amber. Second from Beverly. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. We're moving into the third and final reading of the ordinance 344, 2026-06 wheel tax, which is on page 31 of your packets. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Roll call. It's an electronic vote, yes. Yeah. That was, got a motion in a second. All right, moving on. Sorry, I got tangled up. Yes, Chris?
Thanks. I just want to say one of the reasons that I have supported this and continue to support it. Yes, it has been pointed out that there's a lot about the jail that we don't know as of yet, but this allows us to start socking money away, and will be less that we will have to borrow when the time comes. If I'm buying a new car, I'm trying to save up as much of a down payment as I can. Now, this is kind of a much bigger scale, but kind of the same thing. We're trying to build up our down payment, so so it's less for us to borrow. And just wanted to make that point.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else have anything? Yes, David.
And I can understand the public's looking at this and saying, well, you don't know, you don't know, you don't know. What we do know is the state of Tennessee is telling us we have to build a jail. That we know for certain. The state is telling us we have to build a new jail. Everything we've gotten, the least amount that anyone has said that this jail is going to cost us is $20 million. We know both of those things, and I don't want my property taxes raised so that if I had to leave my property to my children in my passing or in my wife's passing, they wouldn't be left with that burden. Some of these farms that we have out here, 400, 200 acres, when those people pass away, the tax burden left to their heirs, if we don't raise the money this way and have to raise it through property tax, that's a burden that I don't think is fair to pass on. So for that reason, I do support the wheel tax.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Sir? You, yeah, come to the podiums and state your name. Next time, please sign in, okay?
I didn't know how this was gonna go. I don't like getting up in front of you guys. 250 years ago, in a room not unlike this, surrounded by people not unlike this, a group of men decided they would fight one of the largest armies at the time because of taxation. They said, we are tired of being taxed. We are tired of your burdensome rules on us, and we are done with it. And here we are 250 years later talking about more taxes. I am tired, y'all, and I am tired. What happens if we don't do our jail? What happens if we don't do our jail? What happens, Mr. Lawyer? What happens if we don't do the jail? You said the state of Tennessee says we have to do it. What if we don't do it? What if we tell them to go fly a kite? What then? That's a question. Man, y'all are greedy, dude. You're greedy. And to build a jail. And to build a jail. To build a jail. A jail y'all have no problem keeping full. None that Sumner doesn't, Rutherford doesn't, Davidson doesn't. Stop it, y'all. Stop it. Look at this guy. You see this guy over here? That's a sheriff right there. He got a friend over here, Brian Cook. They work together. They're cops. They're the ones who have to enforce that crap. They have to talk to people like me. People like me don't like people like him.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Good day.
You didn't state your name, sir. What is it? Thank you. Thank you all. Where were we? Yes, I think at this time, yeah, we have a motion. We had a second. Please record on your device. The results were 16 yes, 1 no, and 3 absent. At this time, I need to ask Mr. Steve Paxton if he could please come up to the podium and speak.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to make sure that everyone aware in this room and also who's listening, there is an option. Citizens have 30 days from today to file a petition asking for this to be placed on the ballot. So that will be July the 22nd. That petition must come all as one piece. It can't come in piecemeal. And it would then be taken to the November 3rd general election. That's when that referendum would appear if we have the valid number of signatures. Now the signature list is high. It's going to be over 217 valid signatures that we would have to verify. So just want to make everybody aware that's the process as it moves forward if a citizen decides to do that.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Paxton? Moving on, fiscal year 27 budget ordinances and 2026 tax rates. Second reading. This is the second reading of the 2027 budget ordinances for 2026 tax levy. Before proceeding, I need to identify the commissioners that need to declare a conflict of interest before their vote. According to TCA 5-5-112, commissioners that are considered to have a conflict of interest due to being an employee or having a spouse that is an employee of the same county need to declare this prior to casting their votes. This does not prevent them from voting, but rather it's an item for transparency. Those names I was given were Shane Burton, Brian Crook, T. Bubba Gregory, Landon Gully, Leslie Overman, Mark Presley, and David Thomas. Are there any other commissioners that need to declare this conflict of interest? Yes, Landon.
If I'm being asked to state it, I'll state it, but I've made this clear in the past. In talking with Wesley Robertson, I've got emails to support the piece that says there is zero reason myself in this conversation would be needing to say this. I'll state it if you want me to state it, but there's zero reason, according to Wesley Robertson, that I need to state anything. I've shared those in the past as well,
Thank you, sir.
but I will make that statement.
Moving forward. Ordinance 347-2026-09. Fiscal year 27 general appropriations. This will be an electronic vote. This is on pages 32 through 36. This sets the expenditure line items for the 2027 fiscal year for the general services funds, which is 101 general fund, 116 solid waste, 118 ambulance, 121 special funds, 122 county drug, 127 and 128 are ARPA, 131 is highway, 141 and 143 is schools. Debt services is 151 and capital projects is 171. At this time, I entertain a motion. Chris.
Before we get a motion, after the last vote, Ms. Baxley with the Election Commission had said to me that they had a question in their budget. Could Mr. Paxton maybe speak to us on what their question was?
In the budget before you, you have taken $6,000 out of the money that we use to program the machines. We're going to have to ask for that back. So I just wanted to make, you can either add it now or we can add it later, but we're going to have it.
It's my understanding that would be considered a budget amendment that could be done later.
That will be fine. We just want to make you aware of
Yeah.
that issue.
Thank you for the clarification, sir. We have a motion to approve. We have a second. Second from Ms. Kerr. Are there any other questions or concerns? Further discussions? At this time, I'd like to ask that you please register on your device. Mark.
For the ones that were mentioned, do we still vote?
The results are 14 yes, 3 no, and 3 absent, so this does carry. Next up, ordinance 348, 2026, 10, general tax rate. This is on page 37 of your packets, everyone. This sets the tax rate levy at 2.1000. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion. Got a motion from Chris? We have a second? Jeff. Are there any further discussions or questions? At this time, I'll have you please register on your device. The results are 16 yes, 1 no, and 3 absent, so this carries. Thank you very much. Next up is ordinance 349, 2026, 11, which is fiscal year 27 urban services appropriation. This is on pages 38 and 39 of your packets. This sets the expenditure line items for the 2027 fiscal year of the Urban Services District. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion. Bubba, we have a second, and I have Mark Presley for the second. Thank you very much. Please register on your device. The results of this one is 14 yes, 3 no, and 3 absent, so this also carries. Next, we move to ordinance 350, 2026, 12, 2026 urban services tax rate. This one's for the council only of urban services. I do believe there's 3 of us on that one. At this time, and this sets the tax levy at 0.6731. I'll take a motion from the commission. I got one from Bubba, and I got a second from Chris, or from Mark Presley. Please register on your device, gentlemen. The results of that one is 3 yes, did carry. Thank you. This time, we're looking at the third reading. In order for a third reading on the budget and tax levies to happen tonight, the commission will need to vote to proceed on the third reading. Do I have a motion? I have a motion from Chris. I have a second from Mark. Are there any other discussions or questions regarding this? Electronic vote, please, on your device. The results on that one is 15 yes, 2 no, and 3 absent. So this does carry. We now enter to the third reading. Ordinance 347, 2026-09, fiscal year 27 general appropriations. Again, this is on page 32 through 36 of your packets. This is to set the expenditure line items for the 2027 fiscal year of the General Services Tax Fund. Have a motion to approve? We have a second. Second from Jeff. Have a question. Are there any further questions or discussions? Please register on your device. The results are in 14 yes, 3 no, and 3 absent. So this carries. Thank you very much for that one. Next up is ordinance 348, 2026, 10, 2026 general tax rate. This is on page 37 of your packets. This sets the general tax levy at 2.1000. I'll take a motion. I got one from Chris. Do I have a second? Amber. Any further questions or discussions? Please register on your device. The results are 16 yes, 1 no, and 3 absent. So this also carries. Thank you very much. Moving to ordinance 349, 2026, 11, which is fiscal year 27 urban services appropriations. Again, this is on pages 38 and 39 of your packets. This is to set the expenditure line items for the fiscal year of 2027 of the urban services district. At this time, I'll take a motion. Got a first from Mark. Do we have a second? Chris? Any further discussion or questions? At this time, please register on your device. The results are 14 yes, 3 no, and 3 absent. So that carries. Thank you very much. This next one, ordinance 350, 2026, 12, which is the 2026 urban services tax rate. Only the council will vote on this one. This sets the urban services tax levy at 0.6731. At this time, I need a motion. I have one from Mark. I have a second from Bubba. Any further questions or discussion? Please register on your device. Results are 3 yes. Thank you very much. At this time, I want to thank the members of the commission and the Budget and Finance Committee for the time and efforts that you put into this budget process. It was tireless, and I appreciate you guys for doing that. This time, I'm moving to budget amendments. Budget amendments being presented are mainly year-end adjustments and cleanups. These were reviewed by Budget and Finance Committee on June 15th and during work session on the same night. Are there any questions and concerns from the commission? Yes, Landon.
I was gonna make a motion to approve them all together.
All righty. Are there any further questions and discussions? All right, please register on your device. Thank you. All votes are in. 17 yes and 3 absent. Carries. Next up is public notary applications approval. The county clerk has presented me with the following list, which is Ella M. Esley, Core Civic, Dawn Davis, Core Civic, Lindsay Coleman, Core Civic, Paula Burton, Donahoe Taylor and Taylor, Heather Anderson, Secure Financial Group Incorporated, and Sharon Lindell, Attorney at Law. We have a motion. We have a second. Chris and Beverly. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carried. This time we move forward to other business. At your guys' seat that you should have had this evening, you have a letter from the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security describing the benefits associated with the construction and operation of proposed TACN tower, which is Tennessee Advanced Communications Network. Mr. Baylor, could you please speak to this for us?
several months ago, this proposed agreement came through Director Beatty. I think they reached out to him and it finally got to my desk, and it's something that I've had communication with Casey Goggins, the author of the letter that's in front of you. They're asking to basically put in their public safety radio tower. Of course, you've got the letter. You can read their proposed benefits. It's a term of a lease for 45 years, the initial term. They are also asking for, in that agreement, right of first refusals, should we ever decide to sell the property. There's some other nuances to the contract itself, but most of the issues that relate to the indemnity provisions, warranty of good title, things of that nature are fairly standard. There was Mr. Thomas had raised some issues with regard to the hazardous waste potentially on the property, and I don't think I addressed that with you, but that would be a TDEC issue. And so regardless of whether or not there's hazardous waste or not, and I'm not aware that there is, I'm not saying that there is nor implying there is, that would be a TDEC issue regardless for us. So I don't think that that provision is standard and wouldn't really apply that much. There is no rent associated with it. They have offered us a user agreement. I am told that what we have currently is incompatible with their system today. That's not to say that we may do something different in the future. So you can see the makeup of a lot of the organizations that would be using this, the public safety radio tower, Tennessee Highway Patrol, the Department of Transportation, Department of Correction, Department of Environment Conservation, TDEC, and the Tennessee Department of Agriculture and a division in forestry. So we do get some benefits from it. They may not be the exact direct benefit that we would normally see, but I've looked at the agreement. As far as the form of it, it looks fine. It's just whatever the will of the body is to decide whether to go forward with that now, and let them know that we would be authorizing Mayor McCall to sign this agreement on your behalf. So.
This one's an electronic vote, so I need a motion from the commission. David?
So there were two things that I wanted to bring up. One, and I'm not an attorney, so I was reading the contract the best I could. When it talked about putting the property back to original, if the state ever pulled out or at the end of the 45, it mentioned only on the surface. I know talking with you about the antenna in the park, that a lot of the antenna is actually underground, the buried copper grounding system. The contract didn't mention anything about the removal of that, which would truly turn the property back to its original state. I'd like to have that addressed. And then I'd like to hear from the mayor and the sheriff. Are there currently any future plans for that property that the county already has that we aren't considering at this moment?
So those ground radials that I mentioned over here at WTNK's tower, those are addressing amplitude modulation, AM and ham radio frequencies. When we get into these type of towers, that we're now moving into microwave telecommunications that do not require those. So those will not be present in the ground there. So I had a motion. Do I have a second? Yeah, Amber?
I just want to do a little bit of clarification. This is on the same tower that we were talking about previously with the lease. That's on Morrison Street. This is different, though. This has been going on for a few years now, and this is the state putting equipment on this tower that we spoke of before to help with, say, if there's troopers, there's things of that nature that come into our area. So this won't fix the tower issue that we still have with this, but this will help the officers that are coming to help take care of us.
Correct. Thank you. Anybody else? David?
I never heard an answer to that second part of the future plans. Does the sheriff or the mayor know of any future plans for that property that this body might not be aware of currently?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Anybody else? So we had a motion. Do we have a second? Amber? All right, this one will be electronic vote, so please, if there's no other discussion, please register on your devices. Results are 17 yes, 0 no, and 3 absent. Thank you. Next, we move into the Tennessee Department of Corrections contract. We heard from Mr. Beller and 2 citizens about the concerns for the TDOT contract in our last week's work session. Mr. Beller, were you able to find some of the questions or get some answers for the questions that were posed to you last week?
I think Mr. Gregory asked the question with regard to what happens, or can we get an extension? Is that correct?
Yes, I think the question basically was, what happens if we do not approve it? Are we able to extend it, or extend the current one till we get the questions answered that we had?
Your funding gets cut off on June the 30th. Okay, there's nothing on July 1 forward, there's no funding. All right. You keep in mind, we're dealing with 2 separate contracts. And this is only in discussions to the TDOC contract right now. Now, granted, there are some edits that need to be made. So even with that, assuming this body approves that, then there will definitely need to be some edits, some editorial to that TDOC contract. And I think they acknowledge that. The negotiations are still going on with Core Civic. We've not signed anything with them. There are memorandums of understanding that have been exchanged that I've directed both the Sheriff's Department and the EMS not to sign until we can further our discussions with them. I know that's a big topic for a lot of folks here, and certainly with this commission. Your TDOC contract is fairly standard, and from what I understand, what I've learned, it's the same one that's issued to everyone in the private prisons that operate one. So it's very, very, very similar. So the question then becomes is, as far as the TDOC contract is similar to the tower lease agreement that you just approved, you're seeking to authorize or not authorize the county mayor to execute that agreement on or before June 30th, 2026. Keep in mind, there is the issue of payment to Core Civic under the ongoing agreement we have. Now, I want to go ahead and throw this out there tonight, because we still have had several discussions with Core Civic. We do have a written commitment to the mayor, sent to the mayor from Core Civic, that modifications to their agreement, they acknowledge it, and they've acknowledged it in writing. Before, I had only an oral commitment to doing that. Now we have that in writing. So that is something that I think might alleviate some concerns that I think you had and maybe others in the public about what happens if Core Civic decides they just don't want, once we sign this TDOC agreement. I will remind everybody, we've had amendments made throughout the course of that agreement that since we've had it it's been over 10 years, more than that probably. We've had modifications made. Now, in our discussions, what limited I'm going to talk about in those discussions, we have at the suggestion and of the advisory committee, we need an overhaul of that contract. And they're aware of that as well as some of the other concerns. I think during workshop, in my conversations with TDOC, Miss Elizabeth Foy, TDOC cannot commit into writing some of the changes that we requested. However, just some of the evidence-based moves that they have made some changes. Not everything that we ask, and they're not going to lock themselves into a 55 and older crowd based upon the amount of population they have. However, there have been a reduction in population. That's a significant change. There has been a increase in the age, and I think one of the most significant moves that has been made, and particularly at the assistance of our advisory committee and General Jason Lawson, is these body cams that are now implemented that, according to the Tennessee Bar Association website, they've actually purchased those. They've not trained nor implemented those yet at Core Civic. So that is a significant move, in my opinion. So that's what I've got. So you've got a decision to make tonight. And does anyone have any questions of me with regard to what I've stated or anything else?
Ms. Kerr.
Correct me if I'm reading it wrong, but it sounds like the TDOC contract is putting all the responsibility on us if there's a lawsuit and everything. Does our contract, I've never seen one between us and Core Civic, does it have language in there that removes any liability we've assumed from TDOC onto them?
There's an indemnification agreement in the Core Civic contract. And that has been used before, in lawsuits that have been filed against Trouser County.
You said we could do some amendments. If we sign this 5-year, could we sign a 6-month contract?
What I've got is what we've got. If you want to make changes to it, you can, but every contract we've ever had has been 5 years. And I think that I'll let someone else speak to that.
Contract, you even just spoke about making amendments to it.
I don't think there's everybody in this room. There's elements of it that's maybe not liked in that contract. So.
Chris.
I ask this mainly just for clarification for the public, for those who may watch this later. So based on what you said, if we did not pass this tonight, the state funding gets cut off, we would still be obligated to pay whatever to Core Civic, but we'd have to come up with it ourselves. Am I understanding that correctly?
Well, they're going to ask for payment to run the facility, so that stands to reason. Now, again, we're not talking about lawsuits or anything like that, but that is a yes, sir. Okay,
David.
So in the conversations that I've heard with multiple people that I've been involved with, there seems to still be a conflating of the issue. There's 2 contracts involved in this conversation. There is one with the state, the Department of Corrections. That's the one that we're discussing right now tonight. Then there's a separate, different contract between Trousdale County and Core Civic. We're in negotiations with that one. That is not before us tonight.
Correct.
So there are two different, so there's one that can be negotiated and has been amended. That's the core civic contract that we are currently negotiating. The one that we're talking about tonight is just the one with the state of Tennessee, the Department of Corrections. If we don't, by the deadline, as was just stated, if we don't sign that 5-year contract, which has no bearings on how that prison is run out there, we are now responsible for the full boat of the contract with Core Civic and get no money from the state. So
Correct.
just for everyone who's listening, that's the 2 points that need to be made. And I don't think they've quite been made clear enough. So I wanted to make sure that I dumbed it down to a level even I can understand.
Well, and one other thing that in my conversation with Ms. Foy, all right, and she's the chief of staff with the Department of Corrections, I pointed out the issue that a lot of the concerns that we've had, that our advisory committees had, individuals that we've spoken with, and I assured her that Hartsville-Trousdale County is going to be taking a lot larger proactive role with our conversations with the Department of Corrections going forward. And she gave me some fairly good pointers about how to accomplish that. And we had a very frank discussion about that. So I expect in the near future that there will be communications with the Department of Corrections and moving forward in that direction, okay, to address some of these concerns more and more face to face.
Thank you. Judy?
How we could be liable to pay them if we haven't signed a contract with. The contract will be over. We would not be, as a layperson, how could we be liable to pay them? And also, if we signed this contract with TDOC, what impetus does that put on Core Civic to raise the amount they pay us to the level we need? That we're asking
I don't know
for.
what she's asking.
The amount of money we're asking for. We've signed it, it's done, it's a deal.
Again, this is the TDOC contract, not Core Civic. All this is doing is getting the cash flow in to honor our obligation, or the obligation to Core Civic. This is all this is. We cut the gate off, we're writing the check ourselves. So basically that's the law. That's unfortunately makes sense or not. That's the situation we're in. Amber?
I just had a question. Who is the current liaison? It speaks of it several times. Do we just know who that is for in case we have any questions? Like in the future?
We've been dealing with the chief. Which liaison are you talking about? Are you talking about the contract monitor or the?
Right now.
I want to think it's Stacy Kaysen, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But the communications we've had have been more at the chief of staff, not the contract monitor, when we've been having these discussions.
This time I'd like to call Mark Beeler, if you'd like to come up to the podium, sir.
I wanted to make the commission aware of a couple of items, and in particular, as it pertains to the contract you have with Core Civic. I know that's not on the table tonight, but you need to be thinking about that. We have proposed amendments to that basic contract. The basic contract itself does not contain an expiration date. So it doesn't cycle up every 5 years like the one with the state does. But as we have realized from time to time that there are issues or changes or requests that we need to make of Core Civic, they are our employee. They are working on behalf of Trousdale County to run the prison. Two things that have come up and been discussed the most by you as members and by the public have been costs associated with inmate transport by the sheriff's department. And the second item that has come up the most would be EMS calls and transports. Those things could be addressed through addendums to the contract. Those costs could be pushed either totally to Core Civic to assume for both issues, or you could request in the addendum that you be reimbursed at a fair and equitable rate for what you have expended in doing that job. So don't think that the contract can't be changed or can't be amended. You've amended it before. As we've worked through these negotiations, there are other policy issues and operational issues that the advisory committee has been concerned about. Safety and security issues, public notifications, all of those things. They can be incorporated in that addendum as stipulations that you would expect going forward. So Lonnie, that's my thoughts tonight for you, is just realize that while this Core Civic contract is not on the table tonight, be thinking about the changes or adjustments that you would want to make to it as you go into these discussions. If anybody's got questions, I'll answer them.
Anybody have any questions for Mark regarding this one? Do you have anything regarding the TDOC contract?
We did ask for a number of things. Many of them were also operational and policy related. We did not receive positive feedback through Mr. Beller on those except for the body cams. Adjusting the age and population base of the inmates that were sent. We didn't get an adjustment there. The classification system that we questioned so that we could get inmates that had a lower classification as opposed to a higher. We didn't get that. So we haven't gotten a lot in the base contract. I hope that through negotiations, Mr. Beller and the mayor would be able to stipulate some other things and some other changes. They have made some changes, both Core Civic and TDOC, since the incident last June. Those have resulted in improvements. But at the same time, once the contract is in place, everything could revert back to business as it was before. Other questions, Lonnie? I don't know whether I really answered your question or not.
I appreciate it very much, Chris.
Just one question to clarify. I know you said we didn't get positive feedback on those requests, but General Lawson had mentioned to us, I want to say back in March, that generally TDOC was abiding by a lot of those requests. Even if unofficially, if they weren't doing it on paper, they have been trying to get an older population, one lower classification, one closer to data release. That we were told they have been trying to an extent, abide by those requests, even though they wouldn't give it to us in writing. Is that still the case as far as we know?
Chris, that's correct. And Mr. Beller, you may want to follow up too, but that would be part of the ongoing involvement that the county would have subject to this contract, is you just need to pay attention to it and try to ensure that the things that are working well continue to be working well going forward.
One of the things that the department was, from what I understand, adamantly opposed to was the body cameras. And there's actually the piece of legislation that was passed that I can't recite the statute right now, but it's a pilot program for that. And of course, Civic made the investment on getting those body cams. Of course, they're going to have training. I've been told that they think they'll have it up and running by September. So let's just see what happens there. But Civic was actually in favor of the body cams because they use those in other states, from what I was told.
Thank you. Anybody else? Chris?
And just to expand on Mr. Beller's point, working in the media, everything I've seen too has said that the TDOC opposition to body cams was having them in TDOC prisons. Core Civic has been all along has said, we'd love them. So yeah, it looks like we will have them out here.
Yes. Just out of curiosity, what would it cost the county if we turned that down? The same yield, no?
The answer I was told is $76 million a year.
That's what I think everybody need to hear that.
Yeah.
Your money is a pass-through account and it cycles every month. So you could divide that grand total by 12 and then you come up with how much the cost is per month.
Yeah, we thought the jail was going to be expensive.
Anything else, Lonnie?
No, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's Core Civic. We're on TD. At this time, Tim, can you come up? You signed in, Tim Leeper.
One of the questions I asked two at a time one time. If we sign this contract, is there an opinion, Mr. Beller, on Core Civic's willingness to up the amount of money we're asking?
As I've stated before, we're still negotiating those issues and many more. I don't have a firm commitment on finances at this point. I do have a firm commitment that we will continue our discussions. And so I'm not going to misrepresent something to this body about that. Okay.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you for coming in. Please speak.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Commission, for hearing me. My name's Tim Leeper, and I've spoken once before to this commission. But my son was at Trousdale Turner, and he died in October of 2023. And so tonight, I just want to speak to the current and future leadership of Trousdale County. You've put a lot of eggs in this basket with Core Civic. And as long as they continue to hold the contract, you're going to get paid. But my question happens is if things get worse with Core Civic Management and one day they lose this contract, where's your funding go? If the TDOC takes this prison back, takes ownership over this prison, which General Lawson had talked about, and some of the legislators in the state have talked about, what does that look like for you guys? I know that you most certainly wouldn't have the $300,000 income or whatever is renegotiated in the contract. And the guards that do work in this county, that work at the prison, likely would not be held over when the state takes back control. So you lose whatever jobs and tax revenue associated with their employment. I'm not an accountant and I'm a roofing contractor, but it seems to me that Core Civic has Trousdale County over a barrel. And if the money suddenly stops, you're going to have to get creative real quick. And we've also talked tonight about body cams and renewed contract language to bring Core Civic under subjection. Core Civic has always and will always do what they can get away with. There are subcontractors that's been described tonight, and they're working for the county. Well, I'm a roofing contractor. And if I do a job for somebody and it continues to leak, after a while, you're going to stop giving me chances to fix it. And if I start damaging floors and walls and it gets into the framing of your house and you have to have a general contractor come in, you're going to have them come in, they're going to fix the mistakes that I made, and you're going to charge me back, take me to court, get that money back. That's not how Core Civic works. For the most part, they're above the law. And I'm sure that you have people looking into alternative revenue streams. And hopefully you have another way to fund the budget if Core Civic continues to operate at the levels that they have since it's been in existence. But that's the wild card, is you're relying on them to make the improvements. TDOC is going to do anything that they can to help them continue this contract. But they seem to do what they want to do. And all I'm saying, guys, is if the contract is ever canceled with Trousdale County, you're going to have some hard financial questions to answer to the citizens. And it's just something to think about the current and the future leadership of this county, if that day comes, how we're going to answer those questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, sir. Wait, call Melissa. That's right. This time I'd like to ask Melissa Schwab. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for giving me a space again to speak. I put a lot of notes from what I heard. I had something I was going to say, but then I started listening to Judy, to Amber. Thank you for reading the contract. I saw the liaisons too, and I'm like, who's the liaison? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions, right? There's a lot of pages. I hear what the county attorney says about that there's a lot of edits that need to be done to the TDOC contract. But what edits? What are the edits? Is it that some of our requests that the advisory committee sent in, are they going to be put in? What I would ask what the edits are. Is it just misspellings? The other thing that I hear is that they're very willing to work with us and make some changes and such, but apparently internally, if something's not written, it doesn't mean anything. They're just words. That's not how this country works. Not because you said something, oh, that's it. It has to be in writing. That's how I feel. And I'm not an attorney, but I feel that's how promises are made in writing for something this important. So many notes. About the cameras. That was not a concession for us. We did put it in our advice, but they didn't do that for us. That was a legislation. That's a pilot for the cameras, and that's a pilot that they're pushing. Now they're pushing it, so it might start in September. But it's a 1-year pilot, if I understand correctly. And if they want to take it away, that's it. If it wasn't our contract, it's for 5 years. And let's just talk about, because you talk about the TDOC contract saying you don't want to talk about the Core Civic contract. They run concurrently and they're hand in hand. We are liable. We are subcontracting with Core Civic. But what dictates everything is the TDOC contract. If we tell Core Civic, you're only gonna have inmates that are not violent, they don't have the right to just tell TDOC, you're sending me the nonviolence. They have no say. They get what they get, and that's it. If we ask for all the stuff that we put in the document, they can't give us half of this, or not even 10% of this, because TDOC is dictating everything. So the contract with TDOC is what it is, and that's very important, and it should be read by everybody. All the commissioners, the public, everybody should read it and see if you really want to sign this contract. And when you say that we have to pay after, if you don't sign this contract after June 30th, they say you have to pay 75 million. Read the contract with Core Civic. It says that the Core Civic contract runs concurrent with the TDOC contract. So why would you pay if you don't have a contract? If it's concurrent with the other one and the other one expires on June 30th. So there's a lot of things, and I know I'm just one person, but please, please get more advice on this. The other thing, and what one commissioner was stating, is that all the liability, could you repeat what you mentioned about that all the liability was placed when we have a contract with Core Civic? Because the liability is written from TDOC to Charlesville County, not with Core Civic and Charlesville County. So the 400 and something pages, in my view, is more important. And we do have an indemnification agreement, but that doesn't mean that we don't get sued over and over. So yes, Core Civic pays when we get sued, but we still get sued. And one day, it's just a reputation, and it's bad business. This is not a good contract. And the notifications, somebody mentioned about, oh, with the Core Civic contracts, we can talk about the notifications. Core Civic has no say that they're gonna send us notifications if an inmate escapes. That's a TDOC contract with us. And I ask that if any commissioners could or are in favor of signing this contract, to explain to the public why this TDOC contract is in the best interest of Charlesville County. And don't tell us that it's because Core Civic is paying taxes, which they should, as any property owner. Please tell us why this is good business. Why do we have to be the middleman? Why is this good business? And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Carla Atkins, would you like to please come up and speak? You're signed in for this one.
Carla Really Atkins. I never seen the contract. I used to work at the prison. I'm a nurse. I ran the clinic for a while. Thank God I had my heart attack there and they knew what to do. I'm alive because of that. So, but my understanding, and I've been talking to a lot of people because I'm running for office too. But I've been talking to a lot of people, and their big concern is, do we get anything from the TDOC contract? Does the county get anything? Is there any money exchange that the county gets? Or are we simply a pass-through? And I understand that TDOC can only have one contract with a private prison that's direct. Any other contract has to go through the county. So that's why it has to go through our county, and I understand that. But when people ask me the question, well, what are we getting out of it? I don't know the answer. I don't know, out of that $76 million that they get, that goes through to Core Civic, do we get anything from the state? That's what I thought. But I didn't have the information to pass on to the people that I'm talking to. So I understand the concept and how it works. I just didn't have information to fully tell people and answer their questions. Does that make sense? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So at this time, we need a motion to authorize the mayor to execute the contract with Tennessee Department of Corrections. We have a motion. Yes, Judy.
Much for Core Civic being here, very much. The fact that this is dragged on and we don't have a completed deal
Can you
with,
speak into your mic, please?
and don't have a completed deal with Core Civic is what concerns me. We could have a special called meeting on the last day of the month. We could tell Core Civic we need answers 2 days prior to that day.
Again, this is not the Core Civic contract, so this is just TDOC. Understood, but that's still under negotiation. Chris?
Just had one question. We've heard folks tonight say, they didn't have information about this TDOC contract. Is that contract on our county website? And if not, can we put it there?
Let me double check. I think it's probably going to wind up being an open records. I don't think there's any issue. Just let me make sure that I'm 100% certain about that, if you don't mind. Okay. I'm probably going to have to make a few phone calls on that one. Okay.
David?
So as I see this, this commission is in this position because of commission and mayors before us. They set this in motion. Everyone was really excited to get Core Civic in here because of the $1 million in property taxes it brought. At that time, no one had any expectations of the cost Core Civic would actually have on the county that really eats up a lot of that $1 million in property tax. It's why Mayor Chambers went back and got the $385,000 to try to offset some of that cost. Apparently, talking with the sheriff and talking with EMS, that doesn't even knock a dent in what it's costing the county. That's why we are trying to have these negotiations, but we are still having to deal with the situation at hand that we did not choose to be in directly. Now, there are members of this commission who did serve during that time. I don't know their voting records on the matter, but we're all here having to deal the best with what we've got. Mr. Leeper made a very good point. Where would this county be if we just decide we're done with Core Civic? Well, we'd be $1 million, probably $1.5 million upside down on our budgets. All the raises that the ambulance service, police department, sheriffs, that they've all asked for and demanded, we can't afford them anymore. So unless we do come up with an alternative, another business to bring in here, another way to bring revenue more than what we'd be losing with Core Civic, we've got to deal with the cards we're dealt with. And based on that statement, I'd like to make a motion to give the mayor the authority to sign this contract.
Yes, Jerry.
Just a second, trying to get my mind clear how I want to say it. The future of Core Civic and TDOC depends with the negotiations, like our attorney has told us. There's no reason why that we can't expect more out of them now than we were getting, because now we've got some time behind us and we can see what it's costing us, and they can't deny that. So I think we have pretty good grounds of negotiations of getting more funds to cover some of this ambulance service, and the sheriff running all over the state and everywhere else picking up people. Now we've got something to look back at and get a value on. And I think the committee that's dealing with that needs to make Core Civic very much aware of it, that, hey, this is what we've been out this year or last year or whatever. They need to know that we can't continue to go with them under these conditions. I know I've heard the sheriff talk about how many trips he's had to make. And our ambulance, most of the trips that they're making in the county is to Core Civic. They need to be paying for that. I hope they are.
Understood, sir. And that is part of the ongoing negotiations at this point. I'd like to point out that that committee has done an outstanding job. Really, we owe them a debt of gratitude for what they've done.
Basically got us in the middle, and now we're gonna have to deal with it. We can't afford to turn the contract down and turn around and be responsible for that kind of money. It ruined the county. We are.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second? No, we did. Mr. Burton, sorry. Good. Yeah, you will please register on your devices. Thank you, everyone. The results are in. That is 16 yes, 1 no, and 3 absent. So this did carry for TDOC. At this time, is there any other business that needs to come before the commission this evening? Anything we have? Okay. Everybody has spoke that has signed in to be for the public comments. So we're moving past that. So at this juncture, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn. I have a first from Chris and a second from Jerry. Thank you all. Be careful going home and